This woman's name is Ji-yu. She's been married for 8 years. But she can't conceive a child. Unbeknownst to her, her husband, Wan-sung, had secretly undergone a sterilization operation before their marriage, just to live a trouble-free life. But she was often humiliated by her mother-in-law Ellie for not being able to have a child. Ellie always looked down on her because of her family's condition. Even though her son is not capable, Ellie wouldn't allow Ji-yu to blame him. In the face of her incompetent husband, Ji-yu had to work hard at multiple jobs. After delivering milk in the morning, she had to work at a friend's coffee shop. At noon, she goes to her brother-in-law Kun-sung's law firm. At night, she works part-time at a gas station. After work, the reason she works so hard to earn money is to have a home of her own. She's been married for 8 years and lives with her mother-in-law and brother-in-law. She not only washes the family's clothes, but also makes breakfast for them. She's like a babysitter in this house, doing all the chores. But not only did she not receive a word of thanks, instead, she gets a lot of resentment from Ellie and mean looks from Kun-sung. She's had enough of this life. Now that she's saved up some money, she finally has a chance to get out of this life. Ji-yu is so excited, she told Wan-sung not to sleep in today and to come to the agency on time to sign the lease with her. But when Ji-yu waited for Wan-sung to sign the contract, he didn't show up. Because Wan-sung is the head of the family. To save face, they had to put his name on the first lease, but the landlord was getting tired of waiting. The landlord doesn't want to rent the apartment to them because of the unpunctuality. What Ji-yu doesn't realize is that her hard-earned money will soon be gone, because the unreliable Wan-sung was distracted while driving a food truck and rear-ended a luxury car. He's negotiating with the other party for compensation. Ji-yu, who was upset because she couldn't get an apartment, saw her husband arguing with someone. She rushed to find out what was going on and learned that he was solely responsible for the accident, and the other party wanted to file an insurance claim. The damage and repairs will cost more than 90 million won. Ji-yu was shocked by the high cost. She asked if she could be compensated less, but the other party insisted on calling the police. The man next to her saw that Ji-yu looked familiar, so he helped her out. He told the president to go to a friend of his for repairs. It would cost less. In the end, the president compromised and settled the compensation, but the cost of renting the house was gone. Ji-yu was angry, but there was nothing he could do. The couple had to go to the countryside to see their father-in-law, Du-han. Ji-yu wanted him to move in with his mother-in-law and give them the house in the countryside. But he didn't want to live with his unruly wife. He couldn't get along with her, so he moved to the countryside for a quieter life, so he didn't agree to Ji-yu's request. When the mother-in-law found out that the couple would not move out for the time being, she was impatient and told them to find a house as soon as possible, because the house they're living in now is going to be sold and they're going to take out a loan to rent a mansion as a wedding house for Kun-sung's rich girlfriend. When Wan-sung heard that he's moving into a mansion, he wanted to live with his mother. He also told Ji-yu not to worry about finding a place to live. Ji-yu was furious when she heard that. She just wanted to work hard and save money to move out. She went out to work part-time at night, despite her husband's discouragement. Ji-yu was working at a gas station when she met the man who helped her today. His name is Jin-woo. The two of them say they're very destined for each other. Ji-yu doesn't know that Jin-woo will help her out of poverty. She gave Jin-woo some extra tissue paper to thank him for helping her. To return the favor, Ji-yu wipes Jin-woo's car while she's pumping gas. When she was done, she fell while pouring dirty water. Ji-yu was so focused on picking up the brush on the ground that she didn't notice the truck backing up behind her. Luckily, Jin-woo saved her at the critical moment. Upon closer inspection, Jin-woo recognizes Ji-yu as his college crush. But Ji-yu has no memory of him, but she thanked Jin-woo for saving her life. Then Ji-yu was called to work by her coworkers. Looking at Ji-yu's back, Jin-woo couldn't help but remember when Ji-yu was called the devil by her classmates at school. Because of her family's poverty, she worked multiple jobs whenever she could. Sometimes she worked at a convenience store, then she worked at an internet cafe, then she worked as a waitress at a barbecue restaurant. Jin-woo fell in love with this strong girl. But before he could show his love, he never heard from Ji-yu again. Years later, they both had their own families. Although Ji-yu couldn't remember who he was, but Jin-woo was happy to see her again. Jin-woo had to keep it to himself. Every year around this time, Jin-woo's grandmother has nightmares. In her dreams, she's about to catch her granddaughter who's been missing for 30 years. But she wakes up from the nightmare again. She asks Jin-woo to find her only granddaughter. Jin-woo reassures her that she will find her granddaughter. On the other hand, Ji-yu came back from work and found Wan-sung asleep. She's been married for 8 years, but has never been able to conceive a child. Every time she took a test, she felt so frustrated, but she didn't know that her husband had secretly gotten a sterilization before the wedding. The next day, Ellie found out that Ji-yu's pregnancy test showed she wasn't pregnant. She was furious and humiliated Ji-yu. She even threatened that she didn't want to live with Ji-yu anymore. Ji-yu had enough of this. If it wasn't for her loser husband who ruined her savings, she could have moved out long ago. Every time she was humiliated by her mother-in-law, she wished her husband would stand up for her, but her worthless husband just stood by and watched. Ji-yu was so sad that she went outside to cry. When her father-in-law found out that his son had lost all the money for his daughter-in-law's apartment, he called Ji-yu out for dinner. He even brought his own produce from the countryside for his daughter-in-law to keep for herself. Ji-yu thanked him for his kindness. She was surprised when she saw the food served by the waiter. She was usually frugal and knew that this meal was very expensive. Her father-in-law doesn't have a lot of money, but he gave her the best food. She was overwhelmed with emotion. He looked at his kind daughter-in-law and thanked her for all she had done for the family over the years. It's his own unproductive son who has wronged her. And he hid in the countryside for a comfortable life. He felt that he had wronged his daughter-in-law all these years, so he told her to eat more good food. Ji-yu's heart warmed as she listened to her father-in-law's words. She felt that all the suffering she had endured when she married into this family was nothing. On the way back, he told Ji-yu to quit all her part-time jobs. Otherwise, Wan-soon would never be able to support the family. A man should be responsible for his family. Ji-yu promised her father-in-law not to work part-time, but then she started cleaning the villa. What she didn't know was that her mother-in-law had taken out a loan to rent the house for Kun-soon. Ji-yu was about to leave after cleaning the house. She overheard the villa next door and saw something familiar about it. So she was curious and went to check it out. But President Cho, the owner of the house, suddenly opened the door. The two of them looked at each other. President Cho didn't know that the girl in front of him was the daughter he had longed for. He asked Ji-yu who she was looking for. Ji-yu hurriedly explained that she was attracted by the beautiful tree planted by the wall. So he was attracted to her. So the father and daughter, who had been separated for 33 years, missed their first meeting. On her way back, Ji-yu was still curious about the villa, so she called her foster mom to ask if she lived there as a child. The foster mom thought her daughter was confused and overthinking. When he returned home, President Cho couldn't help but feel that when her daughter was alive, the yard was full of small trees. Now they've grown into big trees, but they still haven't found their missing daughter's whereabouts. That's why they haven't moved, so that their daughter can find her way home. He told his wife he hoped to find her soon. He's afraid that his mother-in-law won't be able to wait long enough to meet her. On the other hand, Ji-woo was remembering the previous scene. While she was lost in thought, she was interrupted by her mother-in-law's voice. She blames Ji-yu for staying up late at night and affecting her. Ji-yu explains that she's moving tomorrow and she's too busy to clean up first. She has to go to work early in the morning. But instead of praising such a hardworking daughter-in-law, her mother-in-law insults her for being poor. Before getting ready for bed, Ji-yu organizes her childhood belongings. Looking at her carefree childhood self, she seems to have forgotten her mother-in-law's unhappiness. Meanwhile, Jin-woo, because his grandmother asked him to find her granddaughter as soon as possible, he remembers how the girl treated him like a brother when he came to the house with his mother as a child. He was instantly immersed in the new family. Looking at the photos of the year he spent with her, Jin-woo thought he'd recognize her if he saw her, but he didn't realize that she was the girl he had a crush on in college. Today is the day that Ji-yu's family is moving in. She prepared breakfast early in the morning. Her mother-in-law started making faces and told the couple to thank Kun-soon for their work. They're only staying in the new house for now. When Kun-soon marries the daughter of a rich family, they'll have to move out immediately. Ji-yu knows that everything has to be tolerated. She felt sorry for her brother-in-law. She said she'd find a way to move out as soon as possible. But Kun-soon, who doesn't know any better, thinks it won't be easy for her brother to marry the daughter of a plutocrat. This comment angered his brother, who is a lawyer. Kun-soon has always despised his brother. The two brothers were about to fight, but Ellie, who is biased, defended her youngest son. But when it comes to her older son, she turned her anger towards her daughter-in-law. Ji-yu was in tears of frustration. If Ellie knew that Ji-yu was the daughter of a plutocrat, she'd probably regret it to death. And her proud young son's dream of becoming the son-in-law of a plutocrat will soon be shattered. Then an unmarried and pregnant woman came to Kun-soon. The woman's name is Yoon-jo. She was carrying Kun-soon's child, but Kun-soon was horrified to see her. He didn't realize that he was just playing with her. Yoon-jo secretly hid her pregnancy from him. Kun-soon refused to admit that it was his child. He even tried to sue Yoon-jo for blackmail, but Yoon-jo foolishly said she understands how he feels. He was willing to give Kun-soon 2 days to think about their future. Then he turned around and left. Kun-soon doesn't know what to do. He only wanted to find a rich girl so he could live a high society life. He couldn't let Yoon-jo jeopardize his future. So with the help of his mother, he immediately went out with Yi-yu, the daughter of Han-soo Group. But at the first meeting, he proposed to Yi-yu. Yi-yu was speechless, but Kun-soon was confident that he could win her over in less than 2 days. He delivered coffee to Yi-yu's workplace during the day. After work, he met her on purpose and sent her flowers. And at night, he texted her. Yi-yu seemed to be a bit shaken by this kind of offense. Kun-soong thought he had Yi-yu. He completely forgot what Yoon-jo said 2 days ago. In order to get into the hands of the rich girl as soon as possible, Kun-soong's mother sold her house and rented a villa for $1 billion to look like a good match for Yi-yu. As long as Yi-yu married him, she wouldn't have to worry about the rent. But on the day of the move, Yoon-jo appeared in front of Kun-soong. The family was surprised to hear Yoon-jo's introduction. Ellie was so angry that she was speechless. She won't allow Yoon-jo to ruin Kun-soong's future and is determined to get rid of Yoon-jo. Ji-yu saw her mother-in-law being so rude to a pregnant woman. She rushed forward to care for her, fearing that she might fall. After this, the family knew about his scandal. Kun-soong had to pull Yoon-jo aside. He tried to get rid of Yoon-jo with money, but Yoon-jo won't let it go. She must make Kun-soong answer for her. When Ji-yu and her mother-in-law moved into the villa, they met President Ko's family next door. Song-ju goes up to greet them, as they'll be neighbors from now on. Ellie was so impressed that she went up to them to say hello. In fact, she already knew the identity of the other family. She came here to rent a room so that Kun-soong could get close to Song-ju's daughter, Yi-yu. Because the grandmother is the president of Hansu Group, she pretended to be related to him and introduced herself as Kun-soong's mother, the lawyer. She said Kun-soong is dating Yi-yu. She invite them over when they move in. Ellie was worried that Kun-soong was being pestered by Yoon-jo. She called for a long time but didn't get through. She was so angry at Wan-soong's snide remarks. She took out her anger on Wan-soong. But Ji-yu's father-in-law, Boo-han, came to the door. He blamed them for not taking out a loan to rent the house. Wan-soong was about to tell him about Kun-soong. Ji-yu told him to shut up. But Wan-soong couldn't stand his father's authority and told him that Kun-soong got the girl pregnant. When he found out that his youngest son had gotten into trouble, he was so angry that he went to teach Kun-soong a lesson. At that moment, Ellie pretended to tell her husband that she was pregnant. While they were arguing, Yoon-jo appeared. She wants to hold Kun-soong's family responsible. When Boo-han found out about his youngest son's behavior, he blamed his wife. He said that Kun-soong must be responsible for Yoon-jo. But even so, Ellie won't allow anyone to ruin Kun-soong's future. Boo-han was upset with his wife's thoughts. At that moment, Kun-soong had just returned from a date. He says he'll marry Yi-yu as planned. Kun-soong not only doesn't know it's wrong, but also blames Yoon-jo for it. Boo-han is angry at his son for being so shameless and slaps him. Kun-soong told his father to mind his own business and left in anger. Yoon-jo told Ji-yu that she will persevere and make everyone accept her. But on the other hand, Kun-soong plans to send Yoon-jo abroad to die on her own. And then he ordered flowers for Yi-yu as if nothing had happened. He doesn't realize that he's as arrogant as he is now. And he's going to end up in deep shit. It was Yoon-jo's due date. She had no one to turn to but herself. Ji-yu quickly opened the door to show her concern. Seeing Yoon-jo in pain, she knew Yoon-jo was in labor. She anxiously tries to call a cab to go to the hospital. Yi-yu and her brother Jin-woo, who had just returned home, saw this scene. They helped take Yoon-jo to the hospital. Yoon-jo insisted on a DNA test first. She asked Ji-yu to call Kun-soong, just to prove that the baby is really hers. Ji-yu was ready to help Yoon-jo with the hospitalization, but she was in a hurry and didn't bring any money. Luckily, Jin-woo helped pay for the medical bills. What Ji-yu didn't realize was that Jin-woo called her sister's name so familiarly. She realized that Kun-soong's blind date was Yi-yu. Ji-yu rushed to contact Kun-soong to come to the hospital and told him that Yoon-jo was in labor. But he didn't realize that Kun-soong would tell Ji-yu to mind his own business. He could still calmly go on a date with Yi-yu at this time. He just ignored Ji-yu's messages. Soon after, Yoon-jo gave birth to a baby in the hospital. Ji-yu's heart was finally relieved. Yoon-jo thought that Kun-soong would change his mind after having a baby. She didn't expect him to be so cruel. Her mother-in-law was furious that she became a grandmother and called Ji-yu to come back. Seeing that there's no one to take care of Yoon-jo, Ji-yu suggests telling her parents about it. But Yoon-jo begged Ji-yu not to do it. Her parents are not well and would be devastated if they found out. The only one who can help her now is Ji-yu. Ji-yu asked her mother to take care of her at the hospital. On the other hand, Kun-soong ordered Ji-yu to send Yoon-jo and the child abroad. He will pay alimony accordingly. Ji-yu saw that Kun-soong had no remorse. She had to tell him that the people who took Yoon-jo to the hospital today were Yi-yu and her brother, whom he was courting. Kun-soong panicked and realized that his plan was going down the drain. He furiously asks Ji-yu if she told the truth. Ji-yu told him no. She wants to give Kun-soong a chance to redeem himself. At that moment, her mother-in-law burst in. She tried to persuade Ji-yu for Kun-soong's future, and Ji-yu's husband always leaves quietly every time something happens. He'd come back only when the matter was resolved. The mother-in-law asked Ji-yu to help resolve the matter, and promised to give Ji-yu a sum of money to separate the family. From now on, she doesn't have to worry about anything in the family. In the face of her mother-in-law's attractive offer, Ji-yu was a bit tempted. After 8 years of marriage, her mother-in-law treated her like a maid. She's always wanted to move out but never realized it. But she thought that Jin-woo had helped her with a lot of problems. He even saved her life. She can't ruin Jin-woo's sister's happiness for her own selfish reasons. She wanted to show Yi-yu the true nature of Kun-soong. Then Ji-yu asked Jingwoo to meet him on the pretext of paying for Yoon-jo's medicine. When Jingwoo was carrying the papers, he accidentally scattered the photos of his granddaughter that he was looking for his grandmother. When Ji-yu saw it, she helped him pick it up. But the child in the photo looked familiar to her, but she didn't know that she was Jingwoo's grandma's long-lost granddaughter. She didn't have time to think about it. Jingwoo quickly changed the subject to her sister, Yi-yu. Ji-yu then remembered the main event of the day, so she found the courage to tell Jingwoo the truth. Jingwoo was furious when he heard it. He didn't realize that Kun-seung was such a shameless person. It also made him feel less favorable towards Ji-yu. Jingwoo told his sister everything. When she heard it, she couldn't believe it. She's the daughter of a rich family, and she's being toyed with by a scumbag. She found Kun-seung and beat him up. Then she told her everything about him. Kun-seung tried to save his relationship with Yi-yu. He even said he'd send them out of the country and never see them again. Yi-yu couldn't take it anymore and slapped Kun-seung again. She felt that she realized the man's true colors in time. On the other hand, Yoon-jo thought that having a child would bring Kun-seung back, but she didn't realize that Kun-seung didn't even come to see her. Even her mother-in-law took away her newborn son. Not only did she not treat her like a daughter-in-law, she humiliated her at the hospital for giving birth to a child to make money. She doesn't care about Yoon-jo's pain after giving birth. Ji-yu's foster mom, who was helping to take care of Yoon-jo, couldn't stand it anymore. She stepped forward to speak for Yoon-jo, but Ellie scolded her for meddling in her own business. Ellie forces Yoon-jo to take out her grandson. Yoon-jo kneels down and begs her mother-in-law not to take her baby away. Ellie tells her not to play poor. At that moment, Buhan comes out to reprimand his wife. She was in the way of her husband's authority. Ellie had no choice but to go home. Ji-yu came over when she realized that her mother-in-law was causing trouble at the hospital. She told her father-in-law that she had told the family about Kun-seung's baby. Kun-seung's plan to become a son-in-law to a wealthy family was not going to work. She apologized for that. She didn't realize her father-in-law didn't blame her. Instead, he gave Ji-yu medical and living expenses to get her out of the hospital. When he found out that Yoon-jo and her son didn't have a place to stay, he asked Ji-yu to take Yoon-jo and her son home. Yoon-jo couldn't believe that her boyfriend's parents had accepted her. She felt that all her sins were worth it. On the other hand, Kun-seung is still texting Yi-yu to apologize, praying that he'll be given a chance to change his ways. Yi-yu was so angry at his shamelessness that she was speechless. She told her brother that she was going to sue the family for fraud and extortion. And Kun-seung, who was still upset about how to get Yi-yu back, but he sees Ji-yu coming home with Yoon-jo and the baby. He angrily told Yoon-jo to take the child, then get lost. The tug-of-war between them is seen by the Zaibatsu family who just came back. The grandmother is furious when she realizes that her granddaughter has been cheated on by a man. She walks up with her walking stick to teach this scum a lesson. Ji-yu tries to calm her down, but she pushes him away. Jingwoo rushed forward to ask if she was hurt. It was only when her father-in-law came out to apologize that the drama stopped. Yoon-jo and her son were able to enter the house. Kun-seung ran away from home against his father's plan. Her mother-in-law mercilessly kicked Yoon-jo out to protect her son. She refused to accept this poor woman as her daughter-in-law. It took Buhan's angry outburst to get his wife to stop. In the end, Kun-seung ran away from home and her dreams of a rich family were shattered. The mother-in-law stayed up all night. She thinks it's all Ji-yu's fault. In a fit of rage, she kicked her eldest daughter-in-law out of the house. Poor Ji-yu was penniless. She thought she'd wait for her husband to come out and pick her up, but she ran into Jingwoo, who was out for a morning jog. He handed Ji-yu his shoes. Then he took her to buy a pair of slippers. Ji-yu borrowed Jingwoo's cell phone to make a call, but her unreliable husband turned off his cell phone when he thought the unknown number was disturbing his sleep. Jingwoo felt sorry that Ji-yu was kicked out by her mother-in-law because of her sister. Seeing the girl he once had a crush on living in such a pitiful state, he felt a sense of loss inside. Ji-yu was kicked out by his mother-in-law and had to go back to his foster mom's house. And his mother-in-law tried to find another rich girl through the rich girl circle, but the previous introducer told her all about her son's bad deeds. She knew her son had a wife and kids, but he still hid the matchmaking. Then the introducer told everyone not to fall for it. On the other hand, Kun-seung went to Yi-yu's father, President Cho, to apologize. President Cho knew his character and warned him that if he told anyone about his daughter's relationship, he would be ruined. But Kun-seung was still determined. He knelt down and said he would do anything for President Cho, but President Cho ignored him and told him to get out. On the other hand, Ji-yu finally contacted her husband. When Seung realized that his wife was kicked out by his mother in the morning, he rushed to his mother-in-law's house to see if Ji-yu was hurt, but his foster mom overheard their conversation. The foster mom realized that her daughter had been kicked out. She was about to go to her in-law's house to settle the score, but her brother Jo Cho stopped her. He doesn't want his sister to have a hard time with her in-laws. Ji-yu had to go home with her husband so that she wouldn't have to worry about her foster mom. When she got back, her mother-in-law blamed Ji-yu for not helping Kun-sung. She even kicked her out of the house. In the end, with her husband's protection, Ji-yu wasn't kicked out of the house by her mother-in-law. However, Ji-yu's own life was a mess. She was worried about Yoon-jo and her son. Looking at the baby's cute face, Ji-yu didn't know that she couldn't get pregnant because of Wan-soon's sterilization. And Yoon-jo envies Ji-yu for having a loving husband. She made a big mistake and her parents got sick when they found out. Ji-yu didn't know what to say but comforted Yoon-jo. That day, Ji-yu came home and met Jing-woo's daughter, Luna. Luna didn't want to go to kindergarten. No one was home. The babysitter was out on vacation and didn't pick up. So she asked Ji-yu if she could play at her house. Ji-yu had no choice but to say yes, so he wrote a note and put it on the door so that Luna's family wouldn't be worried. But when Luna's family came back, they didn't see the note blown off by the wind. They thought Luna was lost and were anxious. Sonju panicked and called her husband to tell him that her granddaughter was missing. But before she could finish her sentence, she saw Luna coming towards her. Sonju's happy face turned to shock, because her granddaughter was wearing the same clothes that she had lost her daughter in the past. Sonju looked at her granddaughter's clothes in panic. Seeing this, Ji-yu told Sonju that Luna's clothes had gotten dirty, so she put her own clothes on Luna as a child. Sonju looked at Ji-yu with disbelief. Is she the child she lost 30 years ago? When she saw the chairman and her son driving back, she was afraid that her grandmother would see this dress. She took her granddaughter home to change. At that moment, Jinwoo came back with the chairman. Ji-yu gave Jinwoo her bag. He explained that Luna was at home, but the chairman slapped him hard. However, the chairman didn't know that Ji-yu was the granddaughter he'd been searching for 30 years. Ji-yu, who was wrongly accused, was both aggrieved and saddened. The chairman couldn't wait to see if his great-grandson was hurt. Sonju was so scared that he hid his clothes under the bed. The chairman told his great-granddaughter not to go with strangers in the future. Luna explains the situation. Jinwoo realized that he misunderstood Ji-yu. He came out to apologize to Ji-yu, only to find that he was already gone. At that moment, he saw a post-it note floating on the flower bed. It also confirmed that his daughter hadn't lied. Sonju is worried about the revelation of the scandal from 30 years ago. Looking at the clothes her daughter wore back then, she couldn't believe the coincidence. She took out the composite photo sent to her by the police. The two of them look completely different from each other. She tries to convince herself that it's just the same clothes. Ji-yu, on the other hand, can't let go of the pain she suffered today. The next day, her foster mom lied about an emergency and told Ji-yu to hurry home. Instead, she saw her mother preparing a meal for her. Foster mom felt sorry for her when she was kicked out of her mother-in-law's house, so she made Ji-yu's favorite barbecue. Ji-yu shed tears of frustration and told her about how she was wronged by the grandmother next door. She was supposed to be angry, but afterward, she was envious of the grandmother's anxiety over not finding her great-granddaughter. She wondered if her lost family would be just as anxious. But when she thought of her foster mom who treated her like her own, she shouldn't miss the family she'd never met. Instead, her foster mom encouraged her to look for them. She wanted to meet her daughter's family in her lifetime, so Ji-yu went to the Zaibatsu's house to get her childhood clothes back. Sonju excuses herself by saying that the maid put it in the washing machine and threw it away. President Cho wanted to buy the same clothes and return them to Ji-yu. Sonju was afraid that her husband would find out what the clothes looked like, so she hurriedly said that she would take care of the matter. Ji-yu was disappointed when she didn't get the dress back. She was so determined to find her family, but now she's lost her childhood clothes. The only clue she had was lost. But how could she be happy? She had to see her real parents. The next day, Ji-yu ran into the nanny of the next house taking out the garbage. She thought the nanny should remember this dress, so she asked the nanny if the clothes she had washed a few days ago were in the garbage bag. But the nanny said she threw it out yesterday. She didn't know that the nanny had been paid by Sonju, and Sonju had expected Ji-yu to look for the dress. When she heard that Ji-yu was looking for the dress because she wanted to find her relatives, she was even more frightened. 30 years ago, Ji-yu was the only child of President Cho's family, but she was deliberately lost by the cruel Sonju. President Ko's family has never given up looking for him for 30 years. Sonju lied about registering her husband's DNA at the police station. She threw her husband's DNA sample in the trash so that her child could inherit the family fortune. All these years, she's been disguising herself to help find the child. Sonju was convinced that Ji-yu was the child she lost, but her granddaughter, Luna, found her hidden clothes and tried to wear them. Sonju scolded her granddaughter not to go through her things. She has to get rid of the dress as soon as possible. On the other hand, Jingwoo promised the grandmother that he would find her granddaughter. He got a call from the police asking if he received a mock-up of the chairman's granddaughter. It turns out that the police had already passed the photo to his mother before, so he went home to ask her about it. Sonju was afraid of being scolded by her husband and lied that she was too busy these days and forgot about it. President Cho said it was okay, but he was really upset. Sonju was terrified. She dreamed that she was exposed for what she had done. The chairman of the board wants to kick them out of the house. She can't let the dream turn into reality. She had to get rid of her clothes quickly, so she sneaked out with the clothes while her husband slept. She found a deserted construction site and burned it. Instead, she encroached on a homeless man's turf. Sonju was so scared by the hobo's brutality that she ran away. Ji-yu was passing by and heard the noise, so she went to see what was going on. Sonju was even more frightened when she saw Ji-yu. She was afraid that Ji-yu would find out that she burnt her clothes. However, Ji-yu only held Sonju up and asked if she was hurt, but the homeless man doesn't want to let Sonju go. Ji-yu tries to put out the fire and Sonju panics even more. She pushed Ji-yu and ran out. In order not to make Ji-yu suspicious, Sonju lied that she was out for a walk and smelled the burning odor, so she went in to take a look. Then she told Ji-yu to go and do something. Ji-yu didn't doubt Sonju's words and went to work. When Songru returned home, she reassured herself that no one could find out the secret after her clothes were burned. That would be the end of it. But it wasn't as simple as she thought. The chairman has never given up searching for his granddaughter for 30 years. Now her greatest wish is to see her granddaughter. The family was having dinner. Jinwoo received a call from the police saying that President Ko's DNA was not registered 10 years ago. That's why no progress has been made since President Ko's daughter disappeared. Sonju panicked when she heard that. She was the one who threw away her husband's DNA and lied about registering it. This time, the chairman put Jinwoo in charge of the search. When Sonju saw this, she said she'd take care of it. Jinwoo felt that his mother had searched hard for him all these years, so it was his turn to do it. The chairman was puzzled and asked his son-in-law if he hadn't confirmed the registration back then. Sonju hurriedly said that she was responsible for it back then. Then she pretended to be innocent and said she would go to the police station to confirm it. And Ji-yu couldn't find her childhood clothes. Every time she passes by the police station and looks at the missing person's information, she doesn't feel confident that she can find her real parents. The father-in-law knew that his daughter-in-law wanted to find her parents, so he got a missing person application from the police station to encourage Ji-yu not to give up, although her childhood clothes are missing. But nowadays, technology is so advanced. Many people have found their lost family members. Maybe your parents are waiting for you. Ji-yu was touched that her father-in-law was so kind to her. She decided to find her family. The next day, Ji-yu came to the police station with a missing persons application. Sonju happened to be in the lobby of the police station. She turned her back on her in case Ji-yu found out. In order to prevent Jinwoo from meeting Ji-yu, she asked the police if she could talk to him in the counseling room. The police told Jinwoo that there's no DNA sample of President Choi in the database. The only way now is to re-register. Jinwoo doesn't know that her mother is the reason why her father's DNA wasn't registered. On the other hand, Yoon-jo is trying to get her in-laws to accept her. She makes breakfast for her mother-in-law's family every day. She brings her boyfriend lunch at noon. But Kun-seung told her to get out, and he himself wants to beg forgiveness from Yi-yu. He shamelessly promised to make her the heir to the Hansu group if they got married. Yi-yu was overwhelmed by the absurdity of the situation. At that moment, her brother Jinwoo came out of the house, seeing his sister being pestered by a scummy man. He warned Kun-seung that if he harassed his sister again, he would pay for it. Angry, Kun-seung blames Yoon-jo for everything. The only way to get forgiveness from Yi-yu is to get rid of Yoon-jo and the baby, so he rushes to the room and picks up the child, threatening to throw her son out if she doesn't get out of the house. When her father-in-law heard the noise, he immediately rushed over to stop her son's behavior. An angry Kun-seung told his father to stay out of it. He even threatened to break the relationship with him if he interfered. Bu-han is so angry that he sits alone in the yard. Ji-yu settled Yoon-jo and her son down and came to comfort his father-in-law. Sonju, who lives next door, can't sleep because of Ji-yu. In order to strengthen her position in the family, she tricked the chairman's granddaughter into abandoning her in the countryside. For 30 years, her children had been enjoying wealth and prosperity. Now it's time for her son Jinwoo to take over the family. She must stop the chairman's family from finding Ji-yu. To make sure Ji-yu is the chairman's daughter, she secretly took her husband's toothbrush. Then she went to the coffee shop where Ji-yu works part-time. She gave Ji-yu a set of clothes to compensate for the damage done to her clothes. In order to get Ji-yu's DNA sample, she deliberately knocked over the cups. Then she secretly picked up the cup Ji-yu drank from. She found out through a paternity test that Ji-yu is President Ko's biological daughter. Sonju couldn't accept the truth. She had worked so hard for so many years to be recognized by the president. Her son will soon become the heir to the Hansu group. She must stop the family from finding Ji-yu. The next day, Sonju accompanied her husband to the police station to collect a DNA sample. President Cho was happy that he would soon find his daughter. Just as he was about to leave, leave, Sonju deliberately ripped off the necklace. She took the opportunity to switch her husband's DNA data. Ji-yu was sweeping the floor when she got a call from the police. She asked if she still had the clothes she wore when she was a child, because there's a family with a lost child in a similar situation. Ji-yu said she lost it by accident a while ago, that she could draw the clothes herself, so she quickly recreated the clothes from her memory. When Ji-yu was about to take a picture and send it to the police, she ran into Jin-woo's daughter, Luna. Luna loved the clothes, so Ji-yu promised to send her the same set. Sonju never imagined that his plan to stop the chairman from finding his family would be exposed by his granddaughter one day. That day, President Cho found out that Ji-yu had the same name as her daughter, so he asked her to verify some information. Sonju was afraid that her husband would recognize her and stop her. Ji-yu has no memory of being abandoned by Sonju as a child, so she can't recognize her. Sonju vowed not to let her husband recognize Ji-yu. She had to get rid of the family next door by all means. Soon she got her chance. During a family dinner, Sonju learns that Kun-soon is still harassing her daughter. She's going to use it as an excuse to get rid of the family, so she came to Ellie's house to warn them to move out. Ellie tries to shirk her responsibility. Buhan apologizes for his youngest son's bad behavior. Sonju thought it would be okay. When Ji-yu came back from work, she found out that Sonju threatened them to move. She didn't expect Songru to be so cruel. Seeing her father-in-law's guilt over this, Ji-yu decided to go to the chairman's family to plead for mercy. When Sonju saw Ji-yu, she panicked. She quickly dragged Ji-yu out to talk. That the chairman told Ji-yu to tell him in person. Ji-yu apologized for what happened to Kun-soon. He asked the chairman not to let the family move out. Everyone is confused. President Cho asked his wife why she was evicting the family. Sonju pretended that she was afraid that Kun-soon would come back to harass her daughter. She did it because she was so angry. But Sonju's argument was recognized by the chairman. That the sensible chairman also agreed to Ji-yu's request. She told Ji-yu to go back and think about how the two families will get along in the future. President Cho then told his wife not to do that again. Aggrieved, Sonju confided in his son. However, Jin-woo also said that he had never seen his mother being so abrupt. That day, Ji-yu saw Ji-yu's painting and felt worn and fuzzy. She thought it fit the company's design concept, so she wanted to buy all her paintings with Ji-yu. Ji-yu's foster mom and family were homeless because her sister took out a mortgage. The money was the perfect solution to Ji-yu's problem, so Ji-yu asked her foster mom to help her organize her old albums. Foster mom put Ji-yu's childhood photos in the album. It seems that she wanted Ji-yu to find her relatives sooner. Unbeknownst to her, Ji-yu gave the albums to Ji-yu. Ji-yu was in a hurry to attend a meeting and bumped into a passerby, but he accidentally left the photo behind. On that day, the chairman came to inspect the company and picked up the photo. She picked it up and realized it was her own granddaughter. President Cho was so excited that she could hardly stand up. President Cho also confirmed that it was her daughter. Then he asked his grandson Jin-woo to find out who dropped the photo. Jin-woo immediately asked his subordinates to check the security cameras, but in the end, he found nothing. The chairman looked at the photo in his hand and saw his granddaughter holding a baby. She thought her granddaughter must have been abducted, so they went to the police station hoping to file an investigation. But they were told that the prosecution period had expired because it was a disappearance case 30 years ago. They couldn't investigate the case now. The chairman knew that the law would not work, so she did it her way. She spent a lot of money on a newspaper and TV program to find her. The chairman vowed to make the person who took his granddaughter pay dearly. Sonju was terrified at the chairman's words. Then he told Jin-woo to make copies of the photo and post them all over the company. If the person who dropped the photo sees it, they'll come looking for it. Sonju panicked at the news, but she called her son and told him not to do it. If you post the photos, there will be a lot of unsuspecting people to pretend to be you. If they're blackmailed for money like 30 years ago, the company will be destroyed in a flash. Jin-woo was convinced by his mother. He decided to put the photo on the company's bulletin board. Sonju had just solved the photo issue when she was surprised to learn that her daughter was hiring Ji-yu as the artist for the company's products. She panicked instantly. If Ji-yu sees the company's photo, the truth will be revealed. She must stop Ji-yu from joining the company, so she kicked her daughter, Ji-yu, home. She warned Ji-yu to quit her job. Then Jin-woo came and said they needed Ji-yu to help the company. Seeing her son's determination, she had to leave in anger. The next day, she woke up early and made a lunchbox, pretending to go to the company to help the employees. Instead, she secretly removed the photo from the bulletin board. Soon after, an employee realized that the notice had been torn down. Jin-woo and her father immediately investigated the surveillance. They realized that Sonju was the one who started it all. Both of them were puzzled. Meanwhile, Sonju received a call from the police. The chairman asked Sonru to turn on the speakerphone. The police officer said that there's a person with a similar case among the recently registered missing persons. The chairman is so excited that he wants to know if it's his granddaughter. By looking at her, Sonju panicked. Ji-yu also received a call from the police because of the clothes she provided. The officer found a family with similar circumstances on the day of the girl's disappearance. They asked Ji-yu to do a DNA comparison. Ji-yu was so excited. She'd be able to see her loved one soon. When Ji-yu went to the police station to look for her real parents, she ran into the chairman from next door. Both of them don't know each other's identity. The chairman suddenly thought of what the police officer said. She asked Ji-yu why she was here. Ji-yu was about to tell him that she came here to look for her relatives when Sonju interrupted and said that the police were coming. The chairman doesn't pursue the question but rushes to follow the officer inside to find out what's going on. In order to prevent Ji-yu from finding her relatives, Sonju pretends to have a stomach ache and asks Ji-yu to take her to the hospital. The innocent Ji-yu doesn't know Sonju's purpose. Jingwoo learns that his mother is sick and hospitalized and goes to the hospital with his father. He thanked Ji-yu for taking her to the hospital. He was about to ask her why she was at the police station. Ji-yu received a call from the police asking him to go back for a DNA test. President Cho asked his wife why she tore up the company photo. Sonju lied that she heard the company staff talking about wanting to pose as the chairman's granddaughter. That's why she tore up the photos. This statement successfully dispelled President Ko's suspicions. Ji-yu and the police collected the data and found out that the results would be available within a week. She was so excited to see her family soon. When the chairman thought she would soon see her granddaughter, she learned from the police that she had passed away. The DNA of an unidentified victim was matched with President Ko's DNA. President Cho couldn't accept the fact and tore up the report. She fainted from grief. And all of this was done by Sonju. She went to the orphanage and took an orphan's DNA. Then she secretly switched it with her husband's DNA at the police station. In the end, the match was the child's deceased mother. Sonju wanted her child to inherit the company. She won't allow her husband to find her real daughter. When the chairman saw the urn, he finally believed that his granddaughter had died. And Ji-yu was sad that she couldn't find her family. Her father-in-law comforted Ji-yu and told her not to give up. Ji-yu believed that she would find her real parents. But when she got home, she was criticized by her mother-in-law for not allowing her to find her parents. She was even more upset by her mother-in-law. She became very sick. Jinwoo saw that Ji-yu was sick and still came to work, so he took Ji-yu to the hospital. When his foster mom found out that her daughter was sick, she rushed to the hospital to see her. They talked to each other. Jinwoo realized that Ji-yu was sick because of the shock of searching for her birth parents. He wondered if Ji-yu was the granddaughter the grandmother had been looking for. And Ji-yu's search for her parents takes a new turn. After recovering from her illness, she goes home and runs into Luna. Luna loved Ji-yu's childhood clothes, so she gave her the clothes she made to Luna. That's when the chairman came home and saw Luna wearing the clothes she lost her granddaughter in. She couldn't believe what she saw. The image of her granddaughter wearing this dress flashed in her mind. The chairman was so excited that he touched Luna's clothes. Sonju was so scared that she immediately tried to get rid of Ji-yu. But Ji-yu didn't know what she was up to, so he quickly explained that Luna loved her childhood clothes, so he promised to give her the exact same set. The chairman thinks it's impossible for such a coincidence to happen. She asked Ji-yu how old she was when she wore this dress. Does she have a photo or the original dress? Sonju was afraid that the chairman would recognize Ji-yu as her granddaughter. She tried to convince him that her granddaughter was dead. The chairman didn't want to believe it, but he let go of Ji-yu's hand. Sonju hurriedly dragged the president home to rest on the grounds that he was tired. President Cho then explained to Ji-yu that his family had suffered a change of heart today, but he also asked Ji-yu if he had left a photo at the office. The uninformed Ji-yu said no. President Cho confirms this and enters the house in disappointment. He didn't want to believe that his daughter, who had been missing for 30 years, had passed away. He couldn't help but recall the first time he met Ji-yu in front of his house, and Luna wearing her daughter's childhood clothes. And when Ji-yu was in the hospital, he said he was going to the police station to take care of something. President Cho thought that there couldn't be such a coincidence, so he asked Jinwoo if he knew why Ji-yu went to the police station. He found out that Ji-yu also went to the police station to look for his relatives. This also confirmed what he thought in his heart. He thought that Ji-yu could be his daughter. But Sonju overheard their conversation. She realized that her husband was going to ask Ji-yu about it. She immediately came in to stop her husband from imagining things. After Sonju's persuasion, President Cho was once again in pain over the loss of his daughter. But Sonju underestimated the blood relationship. Ji-yu always thought of the chairman's and President Ko's words, so much so that at night, she dreamt of her childhood. When she woke up, she realized it was a dream, but it was so real. On the other hand, the chairman's family also suspected Ji-yu's origin. The chairman asked President Cho to investigate. On the other hand, Ellie was about to kick Ji-yu out of the house. Then the chairman came to the door. It turns out that the president has already found out that Ji-yu is the granddaughter she's looking for. Ellie didn't realize that her daughter-in-law, who was often bullied by her, was the lost sole heir of the Chaebol family. She was so scared that she fainted. Grandma is heartbroken that her granddaughter has suffered so much. She must teach this wretched woman a lesson, but Ji-yu pleaded for her. Ellie woke up regretting having offended her daughter-in-law. Then Ji-Yu's husband, who hadn't been home all night, came sneaking back. Ellie is excited to tell her son about Ji-Yu's life. Both mother and son are excited at the thought that they will live a rich life. Shortly after, her mother-in-law sees Ji-Yu returning from a meal at the Plutocrat's house and immediately becomes concerned about Ji-Yu. The Wan-soon was very upset about his unfaithful behavior. If Ji-Yu finds out, he'll be in deep shit. Ji-Yu comes over and asks her husband why he didn't come home last night. Wan-soon makes up an excuse and changes the subject to celebrate his wife finally finding her family. Ji-Yu was so excited about finding her family that she didn't notice her husband's behavior. That day, Ji-Yu told his foster mom and her family that she had found her family. The family is happy for Ji-Yu. Since Ji-Yu found her family, Song-ju has been in constant fear. She was afraid that she would be exposed for abandoning Ji-Yu, and she switched her husband's DNA sample to prevent Ji-Yu from finding his family. If she was found out, the consequences would be disastrous. When she didn't know what to do, she received a phone call from the police to her husband. The police said that President Cho had found her daughter and asked if they could close the case by deleting President Ko's DNA serial number. Song-ju was so excited that she said yes. She thought if she deleted it, no one would find out about her crime. At that moment, Jin-woo suddenly thought of why the police matched a nameless body and caused his grandmother a lot of pain. He was about to take President Cho with him to the police station to investigate when Song-ju stopped him. She was panicked when she realized that her son had suspected this. Then she convinced Jin-woo that she should be in charge of the investigation. Jin-woo didn't say anything else, that the truth can't be hidden. Ji-yu came to the police station to close the case and told the officer that he had found his family. But he was surprised to learn that President Cho had done a DNA comparison, but the results were inconsistent. Ji-yu suddenly remembered that Song-ju said she wasn't President Kwo's daughter. Moreover, the person whose DNA was matched at the police station has already passed away. All the suspicious signs made Ji-yu wonder if she was the chairman's daughter, so she asked Song-ju if she was mistaken. The chairman overheard their conversation. She gets angry and wants to take Ji-yu to the police station for clarification. At the police station, the chairman asked the officer what happened. That the police officer thinks it's impossible to make such a low-level mistake, so he suspects that there's something wrong with the paternity report of Ji-yu and President Cho. President Cho rushed to the police and showed them the paternity test report. He then reassured Ji-yu not to worry. After reading the report, the officer didn't know what was wrong with it. Ji-yu asked for another paternity test on the spot to reassure her daughter. President Cho asked the officer if he could compare the DNA extracted this time with the one registered last time to see if it's the same. But the police officer said that he had already confirmed with your wife that your DNA information had been destroyed. Everyone looked at Song-ju with confusion. She argued that she didn't need it because her daughter had been found. But Jin-woo thought the program had just been submitted. He asked the police officer to double-check if it had been destroyed. Song-ju panicked when she realized that it hadn't been. On the other hand, the chairman learned that Ji-yu's contact with her family brought back memories, so she wanted to bring her granddaughter home. This would help restore Ji-yu's childhood memories. When Song-ju heard this, she became even more frightened. The chairman's family is grateful to Song-ju for taking care of them for 30 years. Because of her support and encouragement, they were able to find Ji-yu. They didn't know that Song-ju, who had a kind face, was the culprit. Ever since Ji-yu was restored to her status as the daughter of a wealthy family, Grandma prepared a hearty breakfast every day. Kun-soon doesn't even dare to look at her, and her husband is now the daughter of a rich family. He was finally able to show off in front of his brother. Just when he's happy, a woman comes to see him. This is Wan-soon's lover, Mi-hang. Wan-soon was afraid that Ji-yu would find out and dragged Mi-hang out for a chat. Jin-woo, who came to pick up Ji-yu for dinner, spotted the scene. At that time, Ji-yu also came out. In order to prevent her from seeing her sadness, Jin-woo blocked Ji-yu's view with his hand. Afterward, Jin-woo found Wan-soon and warned him not to do anything wrong to Ji-yu. That day, Jin-woo received a call from the police and told President Cho that the police had confirmed that Ji-yu was his biological daughter, but the police need time to investigate why the match was unsuccessful. President Cho invited Ji-yu's adoptive mom and family to dinner in order to repay them for their kindness. In fact, she wanted to know why Ji-yu's adoptive mom raised Ji-yu. When they talked about adopting Ji-yu, the chairman blamed himself for not taking care of his granddaughter, but the foster mom was surprised because Ji-yu was seen with a young woman. At that moment, everyone looked at Song-ju with suspicion. Song-ju remembered the scene and denied it. Foster mom then asked Ji-yu if he remembered the woman's face. Song-ju listens to their conversation with anxiety. Luckily, Ji-yu couldn't remember, so she was relieved. President Cho asked her if she had any contact information for the witness. The foster mom said that she had lost contact with them a long time ago. Afterward, the president felt that there were many doubts about what Ji-yu's foster mom had said. They thought they had to find the young woman, so she tried to investigate through the police. But the case is overdue. Jin-woo said he'd try to find a way to investigate. Song-ju thought she had to find the witness first. On the other hand, The adoptive mom side remembered that the incident back then was suspicious. When she first met Ji-yu, she found a note on her body. It said, "Please raise her well." She thought Ji-yu was abandoned by her parents and adopted her. Ji-yu couldn't figure out who left the note. The next day, the foster mom told Sonju about the note. She couldn't understand who would do such a heartless thing. Sonju had deliberately abandoned Ji-yu so that her child could enjoy wealth and prosperity. She deliberately abandoned Ji-yu so that people who met Ji-yu wouldn't report to the police. She used a note to say please raise him properly to hide the fact that Ji-yu was abandoned by her parents. She asked her foster mom if she kept the note. She found out that she couldn't find the note because she moved. She was relieved, but in order to keep her mother from telling her about the note, Sonju begged her mother not to mention the note because the chairman was not feeling well. Fearing that Ji-yu would be upset if she found out, she agreed to keep it a secret. Then Sonju found a witness from the past. She tried to bribe him with money. However, since Ji-yu moved into the chairman's house, she often remembers things from her childhood. But fortunately, it's just a vague memory. On this day, Luna wore the dress that Ji-yu gave her again. Everyone complimented her on her outfit, but Luna said the original one looked better. Ji-yu explained that he had given Luna a dress from his childhood. When the president heard this, she took out a photo and asked Ji-yu to check if it was the same outfit in the photo. She wondered why she hadn't seen Luna wearing it before. Ji-yu looked at Sonju and said, "It was because the washing machine was broken." Sonju hurriedly explained. The chairman got angry and didn't believe him. Songru saw that the situation was about to be exposed, so he cried bitterly and complained about his suffering. Then he ran back to his room to avoid being questioned. President Cho felt sorry for his wife and came in to comfort her. Ji-yu learns that her stepmother intentionally threw away her childhood clothes to prevent her from finding her family. Sonju saw her conversation with the nanny and Ji-yu overheard it. She was afraid that the nanny would tell her that she was the mastermind, so she told the nanny to leave. Then she started to trick Ji-yu into saying that she accidentally broke the clothes. She didn't tell your grandma and dad because she didn't want to hurt them. Of course, Ji-yu wouldn't believe such a far-fetched reason. When Ji-yu was wondering why her stepmother did this, Grandma came over to explain the misunderstanding to Ji-yu. Ever since you were lost, your stepmother has gone through a lot of trouble. She's been running around day and night to find you. Grandma thought of Sonju's hard work and forgave her. She wants Ji-yu to treat her stepmother like her own mother. Sonju is worried that if Ji-yu stays at the chairman's house, she regain her childhood memories. She wants to get rid of Ji-yu by all means. On that day, at a family dinner, she pretends to be a loving mother and suggests that Ji-yu should study abroad. Grandma couldn't bear the thought of her new granddaughter studying abroad, but she agrees with Sonju's suggestion. Jinwoo asked to take a photo to commemorate the occasion, and Ji-yu took a family photo with her father and his family. The only regret was that her husband, Wan-soon, was once again absent. While Wan-soon was calming Mi-hang, who was being abused by her husband, Ji-yu was so absorbed in reuniting with her family that she didn't notice her husband's absence. The next day, Ji-yu arrives at her foster mom's house and overhears her talking to her stepmom on the phone. She learns that she had a note in her backpack when she was lost as a child. Ji-yu runs back to her mother-in-law's house in a hurry to look for her childhood belongings. She found the note in her backpack that her foster mom had told her about. She doesn't know who was so cruel to separate her from her family. At that moment, her stepmother sneaks into Ji-yu's room to find the note and destroy it. They bumped into each other. Ji-yu was surprised to see her stepmother in her room. She panicked and made up an excuse. Ji-yu realized that she was after the note. Ji-yu sensed that she was after the note and exposed the conversation between her and her adoptive mom. The stepmother returned home in a state of panic. She knew Ji-yu had the note. If Ji-yu remembers that she threw her away, then she and her son's wealth and prosperity will be gone. On the other hand, Ji-yu looks at the note in her hand and remembers her stepmother's nervous and anxious look. She suspects that it's her stepmother who caused her loss, but she has no childhood memories. She can't prove her guilt with just a note, but that day, she saw a picture of her stepmother when she was young in a family photo album. Just when Ji-yu couldn't figure out why her stepmother did this, her adoptive mom called and said she found a witness to the crime. Ji-yu was in a hurry to bring the photo to the location to find the truth. Looking at the familiar streets around her, she remembered how she was lured to the countryside and abandoned by her stepmother when she was a child. The next moment, the person who abandoned her appeared in front of her. Her stepmother was surprised that Ji-yu was here. At that moment, Ji-yu remembered everything, seeing that the truth that has been hidden for 30 years has finally been revealed. The stepmother still won't admit it. She even tried to persuade Ji-yu to see a psychiatrist, saying that her memory disorder would be cured with medication. Ji-yu was devastated. She won't trust this lying woman anymore. This time, she take back everything that's hers. Ji-yu went back to her in-law's house in sadness. She didn't know whether to tell her family or not. Grandma and father would be devastated if they found out. Whenever Ji-yu wanted to talk to her husband, he was nowhere to be found. Unbeknownst to him, Wan Soon is out with his lover again. President Cho came to her mother-in-law's house when she didn't see her daughter at home. President Cho found out about the note from his foster mom and thought that his daughter was upset about the note. He said he'll make the person who abandoned you pay dearly. Ji-yu didn't dare to tell her that she was her stepmother. She tentatively asked her father if he was happy. President Cho said happily that the happiest moment in his life was finding you. Ji-yu went on to ask what you would do if that note led to something that our family couldn't bear. However, the father reassured his daughter that there was nothing more important than you. Listening to her father's answer, Ji-yu knew what to do about her stepmother. But what she didn't realize was that her stepmother could still pretend to be nice to her at home. She tried to impress her by decorating her room. She decided not to tolerate her stepmother anymore, so she talked to her stepmother to give her a chance to come clean with her family. But she won't admit she did it and tells Ji-yu to forget about it. Seeing that her stepmother still had no remorse, she couldn't stand this shameless person. Then she threatened to tell her father and grandmother the truth. When the stepmother heard this, she panicked and finally admitted it. Ji-yu told her to admit her fault to her family and leave the house. She didn't want to lose everything she had, so she got down on her knees and asked for Ji-yu's forgiveness. Ji-yu won't be merciful anymore, and he can't tolerate grandma and dad being kept in the dark. When the stepmother saw that Ji-yu didn't budge, she threatened Ji-yu with death. Ji-yu hated her so much that she couldn't let her die like that. She's going to torture her evil stepmother slowly. She's going to make her feel uneasy every day. Sonju thought that no one else would know about this secret, but she didn't know that his son Jingwoo had found out the truth. Jingwoo came home drunk. He asked his mother why she did it. He didn't know how to face his loving stepfather. All he could do was apologize to his sister Ji-yu, who is not related to him. He has no right to apologize. His own mother ruined her life. It was up to him to end it. So Jingwoo met with his mother in hopes that she would confess and turn herself in. But the selfish mother advised her son to keep it a secret. She told him how hard it was for her to get a foothold in the family, because the grandmother didn't accept Jingwoo at that time. That's why she abandoned Ji-yu. Until your sister, Yi-yu, was born. Grandma changed her attitude towards you and me. I don't want to lose what I have now. She thought her son would keep her secret. She went back to the chairman's house as if she didn't want to. Unbeknownst to her, the chairman gave Sonju the family heirloom jade trigger. He officially made her his daughter. Just when Sonju thought she had everything she wanted, Jinwoo came back to expose her mother's misdeeds. At this point, Sonju is still arguing that she didn't do it. Ji-yu couldn't stand the fact that her stepmother continued to lie to her family. She told the truth about being abandoned by her stepmother. The chairman was so angry that he didn't know what to do. He fainted because of his emotions and was taken to the hospital by his granddaughter. President Cho didn't realize he was such a person and didn't want to see her again. Then President Cho came to the hospital to see his mother-in-law. He felt guilty for Ji-yu. And Jinwoo had no face to stay home because of what his mother did. He told his mother to pack her bags and move out with him, and go with him to the police station to turn himself in. But Sonju couldn't accept it and stayed at home. When the president came back from the hospital and saw her, he was so angry that he told her to get out of the house. President Cho dragged his wife into the room and told her not to stay in the house anymore. Sonju has no choice but to beg Ji-yu to help her. Ji-yu hates this woman and won't forgive her. Sonju deserves to be reviled by everyone for what she did. When Ji-yu returned to her mother-in-law's house, she discovered her husband's secret of staying out at night. She overheard her mother-in-law say that her husband had a relationship with another woman. Ji-yu asked her husband who the woman was. Wan-soon is too panicked to speak. Ji-yu suspects that her husband is cheating on her. Wan-soon immediately swore that he didn't do such a thing. Then he tried to separate himself from Mi-hang before Ji-yu found out. But he didn't realize that Mi-hang's husband found him first and beat him up. They ended up going to the police. Ji-yu got a call from the police and rushed there. The man took the opportunity to expose Wan-soon's affair. Ji-yu couldn't believe it. At that moment, Mi-hang arrived at the police station. Ji-yu looked at the woman in front of her and believed that her husband had betrayed her. Mi-hang explained that there was no relationship between them. However, her husband took out a stack of photos from his pocket and threw them on the floor. Ji-yu looks at the photos on the floor. Jinwoo, who can't bear to see Ji-yu so sad, pulls her away from the place. Wan-soon followed her and begged Ji-yu for forgiveness. Ji-yu wouldn't listen to her husband's explanation. Ji-yu won't listen to her husband's explanation and won't forgive him for what he did. Wan-soon walked to the entrance of the men's hospital. He suddenly remembered that if his wife found out about his sterilization, he'd be in deep shit. So he rushed to the doctor and asked him to untie it. But the doctor said he could only only make an appointment for tomorrow. Wan Soong told Ji-yu that he and Mi-hang went to high school together. He felt sorry for her and wanted to help her because she was often abused by her husband. Then he deleted all of Mi-hang's contact information in front of Ji-yu and asked her to forgive him. Ji-yu thought of her husband's absence when she needed him the most. She felt so much pain when she faced her husband now. She said she would never forgive him again. Wan Soong was in a complete panic and didn't know what to do. At that moment, the owner of the restaurant told him to go out and move his cart. That's when Ji-yu saw an appointment text message from the hospital on her husband's cell phone. She finally realized the reason why she couldn't conceive a child for 8 years. When Wan Soong arrived at the hospital for the operation, he turns around and realizes that Ji-yu already knows the truth. Ji-yu was so disappointed in this man. For 8 years, she was looked down upon by her mother-in-law for not being able to have a child. However, her husband explained that he wanted to live a carefree life. Knowing the truth, Ji-yu decided to end things with her husband once and for all. But the next moment, an accident happened. Luckily, Jingwoo saved her at the critical moment. Her 8 years of marriage collapsed in an instant. No matter how much Wan Soong begged for her forgiveness, all that was waiting for him was a divorce agreement. But Wan Soong wouldn't agree to a divorce. At that moment, her mother-in-law rushed in to persuade her daughter-in-law not to get a divorce. She asked Ji-yu to reconsider, but Ji-yu was determined to get a divorce and no one could persuade her. Ji-yu didn't come back to her mother-in-law's house to discuss the matter. She came to tell her in-laws that she can't live with Wan Soong anymore. The only person she feels sorry for in this family is her father-in-law. He doesn't know what's going on. Ji-yu tells of the 8 years of marital misery. Eunuch was frozen in shock when he found out what his son had done. Grandma promised she'd keep her son under control and not cause any more trouble. You're still young. It's not too late to have a baby. Ji-yu was surprised that her mother-in-law knew about her son's sterilization. The father-in-law was furious at this information. He went up to his son to teach him a lesson. The sensible father-in-law knew there was no way to get his daughter-in-law back after what he had done. He respected Ji-yu's decision even though he was very upset. Wan Soong realized that he was really going to lose Ji-yu. He couldn't imagine living without Ji-yu. Undeterred, he went to Ji-yu to ask for her forgiveness. However, their conversation was overheard by the chairman outside the door. The chairman was never a fan of Wan Soong. She won't allow her granddaughter to be wronged. She then called the in-laws together. She supported her granddaughter's decision and announced that the two should get a divorce. When the adoptive mother learned that her son-in-law had caused her daughter so much harm, she went to the in-laws in a rage to settle the score with her son-in-law. Wan Soong had planned to win back Ji-yu with the pearl necklace she just bought. But after this incident, Wan Soong seems to have matured. After so many years of marriage, he had never fulfilled his duties as a husband. He never gave her a decent gift. Maybe the last gift was a stamp on the divorce papers. The next day, the two of them met to go through the divorce procedure together, shaking hands with their former lover for the last time. On the other hand, President Cho wanted his wife to turn herself in to the police, but Songju didn't want to turn herself in. In order not to affect the company and the children's lives, she decided to find a place to end her life. After texting confessions and goodbyes to all the people she had wronged, she threw her cell phone in the trash. When Ji-yu received an apology text from her stepmother, she realized that her stepmother might be trying to kill herself, so she immediately came to Jinwoo. And Jinwoo got a call from the orphanage saying that your mom transferred a large amount of sponsorship money and couldn't be contacted, so they rushed to the back of the orphanage to look for her. When Ji-yu saw her stepmother standing on the edge of the cliff, she immediately rushed forward to save her, but she didn't realize that she would fall off the cliff. The stepmother and Jinwoo rushed Ji-yu to the hospital. Luckily, Ji-yu's life wasn't in danger, but she's still unconscious. Jinwoo was worried that Ji-yu would never wake up, so he revealed his love for her. He had fallen in love with Ji-yu when he was a student. He hoped that Ji-yu would wake up and return to her strong self. Maybe it was Jinwoo's sincerity that woke Ji-yu up, but the first thing Ji-yu did when he woke up was to ask if his stepmother was okay. This made his stepmother feel ashamed. Ji-yu asked his stepmother why she chose to die to escape the problem. Even if she wanted to die, she had to live to be punished. Then she would forgive her stepmother for hurting her. Ji-yu's words made her come to her senses. She had the courage to call the police and tell them everything. And the stepmother got the punishment she deserved for her mistake. But it also caused a lot of negative impact on the company. And President Cho was so shocked by the media exposure that he fainted. Luckily, Jinwoo rushed him to the hospital in time. Ji-yu was worried about her father's condition and stayed by his side. She suddenly remembered what Jinwoo said when she was hospitalized. She realized how much her brother felt for her, but the most important thing right now is how to solve the company's crisis. The next day, Jinwoo returned to the company and clarified to the media that Ji-yu's return was not to compete for the control of Hansu Group, and that there was no family conflict, because Ji-yu's intervention solved the company's crisis. At the same time, he was able to secure the biggest partner for the brand. They were invited to the partners' party, and Ji-yu, after realizing Jinwoo's feelings, began to have feelings for her brother. who is not related by blood. After the party, she couldn't get over it. It's the first time she's been happy since her divorce. On the other hand, Wan Soong's life is miserable. He's a mess every day. His mother-in-law is sick because she lost her daughter-in-law. Kun Soong was cheated out of his money and owed a lot of loan sharks for his investments. He had no money to pay off his debtors and made a mess of the house. But her mother-in-law started thinking about Ji-yu. Then she approached Ji-yu and asked for a loan of 1 billion won. She asked her to help Kun Soong out, but Ji-yu had just been hurt by this family. She didn't want to get involved. But her mother-in-law thinks that Ji-yu is ungrateful. Before, Kun Soong asked her to work at the office and gave her a salary. But now she's not doing anything to help. Ji-yu thought she could just ignore it. But without realizing it, she walked to the bank. She was too kind to be cruel to her in-laws. In the end, she took out all her savings and met with her father-in-law. She wanted to help Kun Soong take some of the pressure off. And the father-in-law looked at the money on the table and realized that his wife had begged Ji-yu. He told Ji-yu to put the money away. And said he'd find a way to pay it back. At this moment, he feels that the only thing he is happy about is that Ji-yu is no longer in the family. The mother-in-law was devastated when she found out that she had to give up her house and move to the countryside. She blamed Wan Soong for everything. If he hadn't divorced Ji-yu, this wouldn't have happened. And Wan Soong took out his own personal money to help the family. On the day of the move, the mother-in-law couldn't accept that her dream of a rich family was shattered. She doesn't want to go back to the countryside and live in misery. Kun Soong, after being cheated on his investment, has finally come to his senses. He decided to start courting Yoon-jo again. They finally reconcile. Wan Soong, on the other hand, lives a hard life and waits for Ji-yu to forgive him someday. Unbeknownst to him, Ji-yu and Jin were already in love, but the chairman won't allow them to go out, even though he knew they were in love. He tried to break them up. Ever since Ji-yu realized she was in love with Jin-woo, she tried hard to keep her distance from Jin-woo. When she saw the scene that Jin-woo set up to make her happy, she couldn't control herself any longer and said what she was thinking. But Jin-woo saw this scene. The two of them finally found the courage to be together. With Jin-woo by her side, her heart was very secure. The two of them went shopping together and ate ice cream together and played the games they used to play when they were young. But this short-lived happiness was short-lived. At night, Jin-woo sent Ji-yu home. The two embraced, but their grandma caught them in the act. Grandma is against the two of them being together, because everyone knows that they are brother and sister, although they are not related by blood. But they can't have such a ridiculous idea. President Cho couldn't bear the thought of his daughter being criticized for falling in love with her stepmother's son. In order to separate the two, he decided to send Jin-woo abroad for a few years. Jin-woo listened to his stepfather. Before saying goodbye, he saw Ji-yu for the last time. He was sorry that he couldn't give her happiness. He thought that time would forget everything. This year, Ji-yu never forgot her brother. She wrote a book about their mutual healing and became a famous author. Wan Soong came to congratulate him and asked if Ji-yu could still forgive him. Ji-yu rejected Wan Soong because she couldn't forget Jin-woo in her heart. Jin-woo went back to his home country so he could return to Ji-yu's side. He got rid of his relationship with the chairman's family and came back with a new identity. And in order to get Grandma's permission to be with him, he told her that he would wait for Ji-yu for 10 or 20 years. Grandma told her son-in-law about Jin-woo's determination, and Ji-yu overheard their conversation. She couldn't control the longing she'd been suppressing for a year. She realized that Jin-woo had been waiting as long as she had. She asked her grandmother and father for forgiveness. Then she rushed out to keep Jin-woo. President Cho wanted to stop her daughter, but she was dissuaded by the president. The grandmother had watched her granddaughter cry in secret for a year. She felt sorry for the two people who insisted on love and didn't want to stop them. Two people who are in love with each other and waiting for each other are finally together. Jin-woo doesn't want to miss Ji-yu again. As long as they love each other, they don't need to worry about what the world thinks. As long as they're happy. Every character in the drama finds their own happiness. Wan Soong meets a girl who favors him, and Ji-yu's foster mom finds her own love. Yi-yu, who is also in Ji-yu's situation, puts aside the world's prejudices and gets together with Ji-yu's brother. When her stepmother reads Ji-yu's book after her release from prison, she realizes that Ji-yu has truly forgiven her. She knew that she was guilty of hurting him in the first place. That's why she's been volunteering at the orphanage. In the end, Ji-yu and Jin-ok start a happy life together. This is the end of the movie. If you're interested, please like it and follow it. See you next time.